Hi guys, welcome again to my YouTube channel. Well, today's lesson will be about the types of verbs in English. We are going to learn the different types of verbs in English with examples, of course. So keep watching. Starting first with the definition of verbs. Well, a verb, of course, is a word that describes actions in a sentence. I mean, it's a word that describes or tells us about what the subject of the sentence is doing. So the verb is one of the main parts of the sentence. For example, the mother prepares the dinner. So the mother is the subject of the sentence. Prepares is the verb. So what the mother is doing, the mother prepares the dinner. There is an action in the sentence which is preparing the dinner, and we understand this by knowing the verb. Next, how do we recognize verbs? Generally, the verb's location compared to the subject of the sentence helps us to recognize the verb. Almost always, verbs come after the noun or the pronoun in a sentence. I mean the subject of the sentence. Like in the previous example, the mother prepares the dinner. Prepares is the verb. It comes just after the subject, the mother. Now let's pass to the types of verbs in English. We have many types of verbs in English. The first type is action verbs. They express specific actions, for example, to dance, to go, to smile, and so on. Second, the intransitive verbs. So the intransitive verbs are action verbs that express doable activities that affect or relate to someone or something else. I mean, transitive verbs always need a direct object. For example, let's take the same example. She prepares the dinner. So prepares is an action verb and also a transitive verb because it has a direct object. We can't say she prepares and we stop. We should add a direct object, which is the dinner. That's what I meant by saying a transitive verb relate or affect something else. I mean, the dinner is the something else. There is something you have to pay attention to. There are some other verbs that need an indirect object in addition to the direct object. I mean, there are verbs that need both direct and indirect object in order to make the sentence very meaningful. And these verbs are called detransitive verbs. For example, he brought her a car. So brought is the verb, her is the indirect object, and a car is the direct object. So the verb brought, which is to bring, is a detransitive verb. The third type is intransitive verbs. It's the opposite of transitive and detransitive verbs, in the sense that transitive verbs are also action verbs that express doable activities, but they differ from the transitive and the detransitive verbs in the point that they do not need direct and indirect objects. For example, they went to the camps. So to the camps is not a direct object, is not an indirect object, it's just a prepositional phrase. So to go is intransitive verb. Moving now to the fourth type, which is auxiliary verbs. We can call them also helping verbs. Simply, auxiliary verbs are used with the main verb. They are not used independently. They are used only with the main verb in order to show the verb's tense, to form a question, or to form a negative. The three auxiliary verbs in English are to be, to have, and to do. The fifth type is stative verbs. So stative verbs express a state rather than an action. They typically relate to emotions, feelings, thoughts, and also senses. They are all expressing a state. It can be a state of doubting, wanting, believing, and so on. For example, I think the exam will be harder. So think is a stative verb because there is no action in the sentence. There is only a state, which is a state of thinking. Now moving to the last type, which is modal verbs. So modal verbs are used to express ability, possibility, permission, and also obligation. There are many modal verbs in English, like can, must, should, may, and so on. Well, that's all for the lesson of today. I hope it was clear for you. Please don't forget to like the video or share it with your friends, and also to subscribe to the channel to receive the other lessons. See you next week, inshallah. Goodbye.